the way nature is designed, if you adapt and change, if the organism's natural ability to respond is stimulated to activate, it knows when, it knows how, it revs up, it prepares you, and it'll kick in at the appropriate time, at the appropriate level in the future. Natural selection says if you can adapt and change, those genes are going to eventually be pulled from the gene pool, and the strongest, most adaptive capacity will remain there. So that we need to turn on. Genes work in interesting ways. The environment turns some genes on. If you're never challenged or stressed in a broad array of ways, some genes are never turned on. And then when you encounter something where you need them, they don't operate the way that they should. So we know organisms need a little stress. We are built for some stress. And the body functions best when you get a little bit of that stress. Now, that stress is not meant to be chronic. It's meant to turn off. And if it doesn't turn off, if it stays on all the time, that's too much for the body. And the hormones and the neurochemicals that help manage your stress response will remain at higher levels than expected or than normal. That begins to wear on the organs, whether it be your kidney, whether it be your heart, your lungs. It's going to wear on the system, and that's a part of what takes our health down. Mm-hmm. So some stress is good, too much stress is not. We're built to be stressed, but we're not built to be stressed chronically. Mm-hmm. So we say that mental health is when people recognize that, and when the stressors come, they activate their resources, whether those are bodily, social, or mental. Human beings are social creatures. We manage stress best, we function best when we have people around us. We have to have a good, strong social connection. So when I say, people who are mentally healthy adapt, one of the things is they draw on those social resources. Mm-hmm. They have that live, work, and play down. Mm-hmm. They know that they have a network of people who will be there for them to process with, to talk with, to play with, to help them if they need to distract from the stress, if they need to process the stress, and if they need to address the stress. And so that's that mental health side. You kind of got that. Now, to be mentally healthy, we know your basic needs have to be met. This is not a notion that says you can be hungry, you can be unhoused, you can be inadequately clothed, and still be mentally healthy. We know that you can go through periods where those things are challenged, but without adequate resources to address them, it will begin to wear on your mental health and well-being. Mm-hmm. So this is a notion that assumes that basic needs are being met. But increasingly, we understand whether we're talking mental health or health, basic needs must be met. And we have learned, we've documented extreme levels of poverty where people can't have basic needs met. It not only wears on your mental health, it wears on your health. Now what's interesting about that is it's wearing on you two ways. One, it's wearing on your health because one, the stress goes up and it doesn't cut off. It becomes chronic. Mm-hmm. So whether it's your cortisol levels, all of those stress hormones kick in, your heart rate is going to be activated, your anxiety levels are going to go up, so your mental health starts to kick in. But when your anxiety level goes up, that circuit where you're stressing your body, you're activated trying to survive, that's only keeping that loop going, and it means you're wearing down your organs. And so between what you can't get to supply your body the nutrients that are needed to protect it and take care of you, your mental health mechanisms begin to kick in and wear on your organs. And so everything is working to wear the body down. So we know that for some people, that's a part of why physically they become ill. So a part of your physical health is your mental health. But then we flip it, because we also know that a part of your physical health affects your mental health. So when your body starts to wear down, and you've got heart problems, and you got kidney problems, and your blood sugar is out of control, and your diabetic chronic diseases make you more depressed. And so managing your mental health becomes more problematic. And then there are those other things, those other challenges that come up. We know natural disasters happen. Most people can experience a natural disaster, and if they got adequate resources, adequate friends, they'll be okay. So tornadoes go through. Floods happen. You know, we got the Missouri River over on this side, we got the Missouri River on this side, and the people who live along those rivers, they're going to get some flood. We know certain areas in St. Louis, too much rain, and we're going to get some flooding. So we've got floods, we've had tornadoes, we've even had a couple of earthquakes. So we're getting to that point where we even have to deal with that. But most of us go through that. We recognize, and this was scary, or this was challenging, but you know, we need to go to family and stay there a little while. We do that. We stay with a friend a little while. We do that. We know that we've got enough resources. We'll get through this. We'll be okay. And so we don't fall apart. It's a challenge, but we reach out and we've got things in place so that we can get through it. We can survive. Now imagine that your life is set up where you don't have adequate resources, and your family and friends don't really have adequate resources. So when you're reaching out, there's no one there to catch you when you fall. That's when we're going to move away from mental health. Those traumas that trip us up. We have a model where we talk about the fact that we can have some biological and genetic vulnerabilities that might lead to us developing a mental illness, but that doesn't mean we will. Many people have that in their genetic background and their biological makeup, but they're fine. That is because they never hit that level of stress that activates the genes that will turn on that complication in mental functioning. And so we call that a diathesis stress model. You have a predisposition. It could happen, but it only happens when you're confronting this stress and there are insufficient resources for you to cope with it. So that's what we think about a lot of mental illnesses. And when you think about it, you'll notice mental illness is kind of episodic. People aren't having problems all the time. Sometimes they will and sometimes they won't. There are times when life is going along and they're healthy and doing well and functioning, and then other times things come apart. And a lot of times what leads to that are those stressors that kick things on, and there are not enough resources to overcome them. And so then the question becomes, what are those things that put people at risk? Well, some of them are the things that I've talked about that are more naturally occurring. You know, and I'm not going to put that in my naturally occurring group. We're going to say those natural disasters and those natural ups and downs. But there are some things that are not natural that human beings get subjected to. And sometimes that's because of who we are as human beings and our unwillingness or inability to reach out and be a support to each other, and sometimes even the extent to which we hurt each other. And one of the other things we know is mental health is compromised when the stressors in life are produced by people we trust people we care about, people we expect to care about us, who are not there, not available. So when we look at those things that put you at risk, we're looking at physical abuse, but we're particularly looking at physical abuse by family members, friends, in your home, family violence. We're looking at the physical violence that takes place in communities where we're harming each other. It doesn't have to result in a loss of life, but when there is a fear of loss of life, we see more of it. And I tell people all the time, we need to look around our community and we need to look at how we react to each other, how we approach each other, and what that's doing to our community, the toll it's taking on us mentally and physically. If every time we have a conflict, if the resolution is some sort of violent act, we're not only hurting each other, harming each other physically and mentally. Any child who has to observe that, the family members of the people who have to observe that and fear for the outcome are affected physically and mentally. There are consequences to violence. And sometimes we're not paying enough attention to the high price we pay for that way of responding. I say that also because what I warn people about, the insistence on violent management of children's behavior. You know, a swat on the thighs is one thing, but this notion that you gotta, take a belt and you just gotta beat a child, that's something different. And a lot of times people will tell me, well, that's the way I was brought up. And for many people that's true. But just because it happened in the past doesn't mean it was a good idea. There are reasons we developed some responses. It's different if you've got to absolutely be sure your child doesn't look at a white person, stare at a white person, touch a white person, move in their space. You've got to reinforce that because that will cost them their life. You might resort to that style of management. We're past that. We've got challenges, but we don't have to have that level of control anymore. And so some mechanisms we develop to assure survival, that's not necessary. And an adaptive organism learns. You do what's necessary for survival, but if it's not, some things, if they're challenging you in bad ways, you gotta let go. That's one of the ones may be at the point where we need to rethink and let go. Because a part of what happens is that child now thinks that somehow violence among people who care about each other and love each other is almost normal. It's not something that you should be really thinking about and challenging happening. They also start to think that that's a way to resolve something. That's not a way to resolve everything that happens. And that's not what we want to teach. The other thing that is true about that is that children who, that's how they learn discipline, that's how they learn to manage themselves, they don't understand. What they start to figure out is, how am I going to avoid those people? And